So I'm going to share my screen. Okay. So can you both see the Oswego .curriculog.com/proposals?
Yes.
All right. So I'm going to see if I can figure out how to drop this in chat. I have too many screens, so I apologize for turning my head so much. So in order to use Curriculog, this is the site you visit. So to begin, the first thing you should notice is that anyone, doesn't matter who it might be and what their authentication may or may not be, they will come to this screen. So anyone in the world could click on Business Administration Minor and see what happened. And for example, what did I say about it? Because I actually rejected this program because the faculty asked me to, as an administrator of Curriculog. So the reason I mentioned this to you is that our number one issue in the past year and a half we've had this system has been people come in here and they believe they can do things. You come in here, you can see things, but you can't do anything until you click the login. So my first advice is that somehow you have to remember that you must log in, because in order to actually, for the system to know what your privileges are, what you're allowed to do or not, it has to know who you are. And it doesn't automatically know that, right? It's just a open web page that anyone can access. So when you press login, you're going to do the single sign-on as we do with everything else. So since I've already done that, when I click it, it'll just figure out it's me. But otherwise, if you haven't done single sign-on today and you do it, it's going to make you do the normal things of putting in your Oswego Gmail or a password and then, the phone text or whatever. So I mentioned this to you because that literally is the number one reason people call me and say, why can't I do what you told me to do? So this is almost always the reason. You cannot do anything unless you logged in. So in terms of people like me, you can imagine I work in the My Task tab. That's where I typically work. I mean, these are the things that I'm supposed to do, or I started or had some kind of a responsibility on. But you can see any proposal. It doesn't matter whose proposal it is, and you can filter and, for example, only look at program proposals. So if I click on program, I'm not going to see any course proposals, Genet proposals, policy proposals. I'm only going to see program proposals. The next piece of information is that if you actually look at one of these things, and I'm just going to pick one. Wellness Management BS. Okay, so just one. So when you click on that, two things to know. On the left-hand side, you will see what is being proposed. There's some text explaining, justifying, and we, in fact, if you at some point are ready to propose a program update or a new program, I really would like you to consult with me, because we can show you how you could literally update the program right in here. But most people attach whatever their proposal is in the way governance would like to see it. And when you look at the workflow, you can kind of see it. The system knows obviously, Minjung from that department submitted the proposal. She happens, Tracy from registrar checked it, approved it. Department chair happens to be the same as Minjung. She had to approve it again, in effect, right? Because I don't know who's proposing, right? The system doesn't know that. It just knows who's supposed to at any given point. So Minjung gets to get back on the thread here because she is the department chair. So one of the faculty in your department could propose something, but your chair has to approve it. And if that's then the case, they will be part of the process. Laura Spenceley approved it. I approved it. Scott, my boss, approved it. Then simultaneously, the proposal went to two different councils. The two are Partisan Planning and Academic Policies. They both, you can see, approved it. The way these are set up, the chair votes on behalf of the council. Some faculty were uneasy to share their vote with everybody. So we set it up so that the chair pushes the proposal forward. But once both chairs approve it, it goes back to Minjung in case they want her to make some changes. And she can resubmit whatever those changes are. And then the chairs get to review it. Again, this is according to what governance wanted. This is the way it's set up because that's what they wanted. I'm just going to return back to the previous page. And so we can look at as many of these as you like, but we only gave ourselves 20 minutes. So just very quickly about new proposals. So I'm going to click the new proposal. Again, you can only click new proposal if it knows who you are, right? You can't submit a new proposal unless it does. So, but once you do that, then it wants to know, well, what kind of proposal? Is it a graduate course, a new graduate course? Is it an undergraduate prereq change? These are the things that we've built because people wanted the same, a particular workflow for the task, and a form we already had didn't really match it, right? So some of them are quite nuanced the way they're designed. But I'm just going to come in here to the second page. And I'm going to ask for a undergraduate program change. So if you look at it, you probably see these little white circles and these dark circles. You all see that, right? So these are, when you see those, they're decision points that may or may not apply for a particular context. So to give you an example, these two at the end. One of them is the approval by SUNY. The other one is the approval by state ed. Well, many of our program updates, like 90%, don't require SUNY or a state ed approval. So if you're just taking a course out, putting a course in, or changing some verbiage about your curriculum, it is not needed. So depending on what the context of the change is, it may or may not be needed. So I'm given two buttons. You can see I can start a proposal with that little check mark. So since this is a program update, as you can imagine, it wants to know, well, what are you changing? So I'm going to type computer science. So you can see the computer science BA comes up, and the computer science BS comes up, and the minor comes up, right? So it's pretty rich in its ability to do search. And suppose I just want to change the BA. So if I click here, and it will automatically build a proposal for me. So from this point on, I have a proposal. Until I validate and launch it, nobody else gets to see it. But you can come back to it. It would be your proposal, and we have a tab for that, and you can come back to it and continue working on it. But the program requirements, you can see these are the courses involved in the curriculum on this tab. And the curriculum itself is right here on the right side. So if I want to change something, for example, I want to delete CSE 212. Gone. We no longer need to teach CSE 212. Now, that would be ridiculous, but I could do that, right? And I can save those changes and have it for me to come back to, add my rationale, do whatever I need to. But if and when I'm ready, I click the validate and launch button. So I'm going to click validate and launch. Okay. Apparently, I have to explain things like program description and so on. So let's see if we can validate and launch now. So the reason I'm not sweating this, just to be clear, guys, is that when you validate and launch, as I just did, I'm the first person in the workflow. So the way the system is designed, even though it may be counterintuitive, I'm the first person as an originator that has to approve it. So it's not going to go anywhere until I click under decisions, until I click approve. And even after I do that, the next person that sees it is Tracy, because she double checks to make sure if you're adding a course, it actually exists, for example. But then Doug Lee, who is the chair, Kristen Croyle, me as the associate provost, and so on, will have to then see the proposal, approve the proposal, and you can see it gets back to the governance, the chairs are identified, and so on. So it really doesn't take a whole lot to understand what you have to do, and many people just click the file button, the little clip right here, and just upload what they want. And they don't bother doing the things I showed you where I went into the core and deleted 212. They won't do that necessarily. And if I click preview curriculum, it actually shows me what the proposed program looks like with the 212 eliminated. So, any questions about what I've shown you so far? And then we're going to have to try and get at what it is you're trying to do, and then we can decide if we need to meet offline, or you feel like you can actually go ahead and do it.
I really just needed kind of like a refresher, because I did this around this time last year with my environmental justice course. But was kind of walked through it by my department chair. But then this year, that same course, we're adding under the DESJ designation.
Okay, so let's talk about that. I'm going to jump back to proposals and do a new proposal again. Now, the type of proposal that I'm interested in is for general education, and I did build a form for this. So you when you initially introduced the course, uh, um, that course needed to go through campus governance for being a course.
Mhm.
When you want to then submit it to General Education Council so that it could be considered for the particular category, in this case, the um, diversity, equity, inclusion stuff, then this is the form to use.
Okay.
Because then you get to choose, well, what are you proposing it for?
Mhm.
What are the outcomes and how are you meeting those outcomes? So the proposal in this context ends up looking kind of different
Right.
than the proposal that you submitted to UCC with the information about the what is the course outline? Well, the course outline in this context has to speak to how the outcomes for diversity, equity, and inclusion are being met. So that's what we built this. And when you click on this guy and I start one, I'm going to have to delete a lot of things after this is over. After I start one, you can see it follows a similar path, except now Chris has to get it. Chris Lalonde, because he is the director of general education. And then he brings it to the council and he's going to approve it on behalf of the council. In other words, when the council meets and approves or not approves whatever this is, and all their members are here, right? But they don't have to vote online. They can just, the way they typically do it in their council meeting, they can vote on it because he will then act on their behalf. And then from there, you can see it's done. It doesn't have to go to faculty assembly. It doesn't have to go anywhere. So it becomes very different than the way we handle a course proposal that you completed last year, because that course had to go from UCC to faculty assembly. If nobody complains about it, then we eventually actually do it. So the workflows are totally different in this case. But this is the form you're going to use.
Great.
Accomplish that.
Thank you.
How about you, Eric?
And this is if I were to make a change to an existing course, like change the course title or change the course description, that would happen in here as well.
So
Not like a major change, but just retooling the way we're describing or thinking about a particular course.
So now I'm assuming now you have a course like CSC 212 or whatever, so a course, and you want to update that course. So in this case, this is an undergraduate course change situation. So this is the form now that I need for that, because now you got to say, well, what course was it? It brings up all the information for the course, and then you can change whatever you need to. And the update is what goes to UCC for them to review, and then it'll go to faculty assembly and so on. So you just, in effect, with your two examples, we identified two very different forms that will take different paths, because that's the way we have orchestrated that for governance process.
Okay.
And it's a pretty easy one, right? I mean, if I click on it, it wants to know, well, what course is it? It'll then give me that course, and then I can change whatever parts of it I want. And when I launch that, then it'll just take the path it needs to. It goes to your department chair everywhere else that it needs to.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
Of course. Irene, anything from you, dear?
Yes. Hi, Rameen. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
So we are, we have those 10 course proposals, graduate courses. Half of them have been offered as special topics, but I'll be loading those in as new graduate courses. Is that correct?
This would actually be right here.
Okay.
That's the form.
Correct. And all of these courses right now, well, half of them are being offered as electives. The other half will be offered in the summer and the fall. But the underlying new degree is being fine-tuned, you know, for total amount of credits and total sequencing and what's required and, you know, what are the choices. So do you feel that'll, it'll hurt the courses as they're going through if I don't load something in on the program? I know you and I had a short conversation on it.
Mhm.
And we've all agreed we're going to put the courses in through. They went through our governance at the School of Business, so everything's been approved and on our end. And everyone agrees that's a good way to go. So I guess I'm checking with you, Rameen, because you really, you know, our guide on this.
So
This
the
is
way,
for that business analytics degree we discussed.
oh yeah, absolutely. So the pathway that we recommend is for the courses to be in the queue for
Okay.
UCC. In other words, if you have 10 new courses, as you were, I'm just using your number,
Yes,
if they're all proposed and are in UCC's hands, and you can see the workflow, right? I mean, you can look and
yes,
see that your dean approved it, whoever needed to approve it, they have
yes,
approved. Then you're more than welcome to actually propose the program. Now, in your particular case, whenever we offer a new program, Irene, we really do need to do a letter of intent or a program announcement. And that really doesn't have to wait for
Oh,
any kind of
okay.
approval,
Okay.
because the way the system is designed is that we propose like the a STEM MBA or MBA STEM or whatever. We can't really propose it until it has gone in as a letter of intent. And letter of intent is in here. It's one of the forms you fill out.
Oh, okay. That was our confusion. I just had a meeting on this last week.
A letter of intent is right here.
Oh,
So, and it takes a different path than a program proposal does. It has a shorter path than a program proposal does, because all we're doing is letting the rest of SUNY know that Oswego wants to do this. Do you have a problem with us? So it becomes like a 2-page, 3-page thing. It's not a whole full-fledged program proposal, but it gives an opportunity to other institutions in the system to react to it. They have a month to do it. And once that month passes, we can go back in and actually propose the thing. So what you probably should do right away, if this is a plan for the School of Business,
yes,
is to complete the letter of intent, and I can send you the link for the form for letter of intent, because it's a SUNY form. So you can get that going and propose it here so that we can get the governance part on campus done and ship it out. Whether or not we can get the proposal done, the courses done in the spring, it's a little iffy. You know how governance works.
yep,
I don't control it. It takes time. But we should at least do the announcement and do all the legwork associated with getting the proposal ready, because we still have to get approval for reviewers, right? I mean, I think you and I
yes,
discussed this.
yes, we're already considering who we would bring in as a reviewer.
So we got to get
These
approval
little
for that.
pizza, okay. This
So-
letter of intent, thank you. I can't thank you enough for that. I guess we are, you know, we just thought that was a big, the components were in that form 2A, or, you know, the new degree proposal, but you're saying it's a separate form, this letter of intent.
Yeah,
We'll get on that right away. Thank you.
So here's the
Thank you.
SUNY forms. I have a link for them right here, right? I mean, this,
Yeah,
as you can imagine, I kind of have to have a link. This is one of those things that my job requires me to do. And the letter intent that is right there, the 1B.
do I, 1B, do I have it? Can you please send me that form? I don't recall even seeing that form. We're working on 2B. Yep,
I'm going to,
new graduate degree program proposal. That's what we're doing the narrative on, 2B.
so
Thank you.
I just
Thank
put
you.
the link for the
Thank you.
form.
Immensely helpful. Thank you.
So this form is really a fairly easy form to use. And if I very quickly open it without disturbing the conversation for everybody. So there we go. So,
Oh, perfect. Okay.
so
That's where we
you
got
can see you
confused.
don't
It
even
sort of
actually,
looked,
you don't actually even put the full program proposal in here. You just identify courses, and it's a really watered down version of a proposal. So it's just
yes,
pages, very easy to do. But again, it's only intended for SUNY to then ask for feedback from other SUNY campuses about whether or not us offering this impacts people. Because if they have concerns, then we're going to have to deal with that. If somebody,
Right.
say Brockport or University of Buffalo or somebody has a problem with us doing it, they're going to be writing to us, writing to SUNY, and we're going to have to deal with it. But
Okay.
if there's no objections to us doing it, our next step is to get our proposals in. So this can go in now while you're getting your courses done, while you're preparing your proposal.
Thank you.
So you all got a little
Okay.
extra with this discussion because
Huge, huge. Thank you.
because new programs are kind of a big deal, right? I mean, they're very different than just adding, getting a course approved for Gen Ed or a new course built. They're also very different than just doing a simple modification to one of our existing programs. State University of New York has a lot of expectations for us. It's very difficult to get it done in less than a year. More often than not, it's a year and a half, 2 years. It's how long it takes, right? Not because, because after SUNY is done with it, the State University of New York is completely done with it. State Ed steps in, and and they have their own concerns about anything anybody does. So, we're quite well tooled to deal with all of these people, but it's just time. Each step takes several months typically. So.
Understood. Very grateful for that. Yeah, we're prepared for the time. And again, we're getting the courses underway so that when they do evaluate, they're not looking at this as pie in the sky and new resources, that we are already offering a good portion of the program. So
Yeah.
That's what we're hoping for.
No, I think it's exciting that we're doing it.
Yeah.
For Eric and Matt, there are certain rules with international students that you may not be aware of, that if they come into a STEM field and graduate from it, they're what we call practical training or whatever, they get to work in the US, not just for 1 year, they can work in the US for 3 years. So a regular MBA doesn't give you that.
1 year.
But a specialized MBA that is more STEM oriented, more analytical, as Irene mentioned, that qualifies international students to work in the US for 3 years. So it becomes very attractive for internationals to actually pursue that type of a degree rather than just a straight up MBA. Anyways, just additional information for the back of your head as you're thinking about, well, what else can I do? Environmental issues, yeah, you're almost leaning in the direction of STEM, right? So a degree of that type tends to be more attractive to internationals because they have that longer or the extended work possibility. I think I already kept you an extra 15 minutes. I hope that's okay. Again, if you're working on something and you don't know how to do it or you need some extra help, we can just jump on a Zoom call and I'll be more than happy to help you move it forward. All right? Okay. Thank you. And thank you, Maggie, for controlling everything over there. All right? Take care, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.